It's going to be a quick video of how we go about embroidering everything, showing you how we hoop the hats, how we run the embroidery machine, pick the colors and position of the design, and then also do some shots of the machine functioning so you can see what we do every day. So here we have our embroidery brain. This bad boy tells the machine exactly what to do with our digitized file. It's basically a massive plotter with 6 heads and 15 needles per head that can run from 400 to 1100 RPM during stitching. So the first and foremost important thing that you want to do before you stitch any design is trace it, because you want to make sure that the outer limits of your design are within your hoop specs, so that when your hoop rotates around and your needles are going up and down at 900 RPM, they don't smack into the metal bracket that holds the hat, which could damage needles, needle arms, even the whole head could be incapacitated. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that trace feature right now, and where you see that laser, that's the needle point. Shows that it's center on the hat, right up the middle on head 1, and that will stitch out the same exact way on the remaining 6 heads. What we want to make sure is that needle doesn't come into contact with this metal bracket at any point, because if it smacks into here, we're talking about a broken needle, probably a bent needle arm, and maybe even there's a driver up here that can snap, and then you're completely screwed. So let's see what we got. Yeah, baby, there it is! About 1 finger up from the bracket is perfect placement, so we're good to go. Now this machine is loud as balls. And I highly recommend rocking some earplugs. I got 32 decibel earplugs in my ears, otherwise I'd be deaf. You can't hear anything in here when this thing's going at 900 RPM. Safety first. So from time to time we'll actually have a thread break. And what happens with a thread break? Oh no, it's not a thread break, I ran out of thread. Okay, cool. So see this spool right here, number 14? That was black thread. I probably should have replaced it this morning, but I didn't, and now it's empty. So I have to rethread the entire path, and I'll show you how. Definitely a case where it pays to prep. I always think I want to shoot these kinds of videos, but I never have time during the week. So I come in on the weekend, focus more on making the video than actually prepping my machine. Big mistake. So here's my thread spool. It is about 5,500 yards of polyester thread. What you got to do is find where it starts and get your single line. So I have that right here. And then I snip a fresh cut. You don't really want to mess around with any thread that's not a fresh cut, because the burrs will get stuck up in these rubber tubes that are supposed to keep the thread separated. There's static electricity in there. You'll never get the thread through if it's frayed at all at the end. So here was my old ream of black, and it's gone, so I'll just move it out of the way. I take my new black spool and I put it right over, just so. Then I take my kind of fishing hook end wire here. It's about the thickness of a guitar string, and oh, I hit myself in the eyeball. It's got a little eyelet right at the end. I don't know if you can even see it, but through that eyelet, I want to take my fresh cut end, weave it, and then tie it up all on top of itself, around and around and around, and make sure that it'll stay in this eyelet as I insert it through that rubber tube. Alright, then I take the end and I stick it right up here. There's a hole in position 14 where my thread is, and I just fish the wire through with the thread attached. Going to come out the front, but you won't be able to see that. And there we go, baby. So it's out the front. I make sure my back is holding. I put a little bit of tension on here. Came undone. Damn it. Just a little bit of tension. Kind of holds itself on there, and I pull it through. Ah. Yeah, there we go. Not the end of the world, but kind of a pain in the ass. So first thing, I want to move my dust cover out of the way, grab my fresh piece of thread that we just fished all through the line, and I take it between both fingers and I put it through my first upper tensioner. Right between these 2 plates, and I pull it up a little bit. Oh, it's a spring plate and there's a notch in there. So there's a post in there that when I tighten this down on the post, it squeezes these 2 plates with the spring and gives me my top tension, which controls how my thread comes off my spool up top. Then I go once around this spool, in the lower upper tension. Then I want to cut a fresh start because it's easier than respooling. I take my other end and I fish it down through this here. I'm not even sure you can see that. Yes, kind of. My hands are sort of in the way, but this is the upper lower tensioner, I guess, or the lower, anyway. So I've gone through my upper tensioner and I want to go through my lower tensioner. It's 1.5 turns around this silver spool and then up over my take-up spring, and then down below the take-up spring is another eyelet in this second bracket. I pull that clear, make sure everything's working smoothly. Now it's onto the take-up arm. So I grab my my thread, my line, I put it through this upper bracket here and grab it below. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get. There's these slots, the thread just wants to go inside the machine. And then there's a little eyelet below the take-up arm, then you go through the take-up arm, feed back down through the second eyelet, below the take-up arm, make sure that's working smoothly. And finally, with a fresh cut, we pull back this spring right here, go through the very bottom of the thread path, so we're all the way up threaded, and it's time to thread the needle. And to do that, there's a little boot right here you go around the back of, get the tip of your thread and go right through that sucker. Pull it up, put it into this holding spring. What that does is just keeps a little tension on it so it's out of the way, so the first couple stitches are clean. Snip it. Next, it's important to do a couple steps back on the head to make sure I didn't miss any stitches, and we're good to go.